Hello everybody, Fertility Journals here. If you're new, thank you so much for watching. I decided to start this YouTube channel as a way to give back to this space because when I was undergoing my own 12 cycles of IVF, we're blessed with a beautiful baby boy with my own genetic egg. I relied very heavily in this space to be able to watch videos that were inspiring, motivational, and encouraging. And my hope in hopping in this space is that my videos might do the same for you. And if you would like, please join the family. I did also learn that comments and when people share in this journey, it's only motivational and only encourages others to succeed. You just never know who might get the inspiration. Thank you for watching. I upload new videos weekly. I have a journal, a video journal, very raw, of my 12 cycles of IVF each and every cycle. So make sure that you look at that if you are interested in how things went. I'll put a link in the information bar. And then every once in a while, I get dolled up like I am today when I get inspiration or I feel that I can share in something and I hop on and just share my thoughts. Mostly they are responses to questions. I do get emails. My email is below as well if you have wanted to reach out and ask questions. But today, I think I'm going to answer the question about what I discovered about donor egg IVF because as you can imagine, being of advanced maternal age and having age-related infertility, that was something that my doctors originally immediately had suggested. So if you're interested in what I found out about donor egg, stay tuned. I'll start off with my diagnosis. So folks, I was diagnosed with diminished ovarian reserve. I was to be perimenopausal within the next 5 years. At the time I was 41 years old. And I also had poor response. My AMH was 0.1 and my FSH at the time I started IVF was 24.6, so pretty high. And so naturally in looking at the diagnosis, even though I did not know at the time, it was actually smart that my doctors did suggest donor egg because they wanted me to be successful immediately I had started. But as you look at my videos, I had not even tried with my own genetic child, hence undergoing multiple cycles of IVF. But I will share with you the research I did because essentially what I was doing was my husband and I had to think about what our pathways to baby were going to be. And you guys know that I really wanted to make sense out of it, so I created this way of making sense in my head called Pathways to Baby, and we developed 5. So the first being genetic child, donor, second, third it would be embryo donation, and then fourth would be fostering, and then fifth would actually be adoption. And so we were gonna work our way through those pathways. And then of course surrogacy if I found out that I could not carry a pregnancy as well, in the sense that the surrogate would carry the embryo that my husband and I formed. So it would be gestational surrogacy. All right, so I will quickly share with you what I learned about donor egg IVF. So the first thing that got me really excited about donor egg IVF as a follow-up process that led to me thinking about pathway, genetic, and then donor egg was the whole research on epigenetics, the nature versus nurture. And so first off, you get to carry the baby, which is amazing, with your husband, significant others, partners, little guys. They fertilize the egg in the lab, in vitro, and then you undergo the transfer. So you get to carry the pregnancy, and then you get to really form how this baby's gonna grow. And I thought this is so exciting to be a part of that process, right? To be able to nurture this life. And so epigenetics is absolutely amazing because you are the sole reason why this baby is coming to life and growing. You are nurturing this baby in your womb, and that is a bond that is irreplaceable. So something for you to think about. The second thing I discovered about donor egg IVF that was exciting was the fact that you're actually considered the biological mother. So there's 2 codings that I didn't even know at the time, but there's a genetic child, which is when you carry a child with your own genetics, and then there is your biological child, which is a child that you've made through your own biology. And so I know that labels don't mean anything, but it was kind of nice to know that if I use donor egg, that it would be a biological child of mine, right? And that's why you are considered the mother, the birth mother of this child. And so it was a small thing, but labels mattered to me. And at the time I was really vulnerable, and I knew that it may not work with my own genetic egg. And so it was just nice to know that I could be the biological mother to the child. The third reason that got me excited about the whole idea of donor egg was my doctor Frank Yelian had actually worked and works with women who also have to pursue donor, because with age-related infertility or with your infertility diagnosis, you just never know. And he was talking in one of his YouTube videos about the whole issue of like genetic offspring, and over generations to come, I guess your DNA gets less and less because of your offspring, and they have children, and it diminishes over time. And so it actually just takes a generation for your genetics not to be there anymore. So that's essentially like your grandchildren, right? They could end up inheriting like all these genes from the different pool, depending on who your children marry, and vice versa. And I never actually thought about it that way, about being so hung up on this whole idea of genetics. But and again, when you're feeling really fragile, guys, and that's your only option, every little bit of information and research counts, because I had just never thought about it that way, but it is true. And the last thing that I learned about donor egg IVF that really, guys, just really touched my heart was I did research, and as I went into the social media space, YouTube, and I wanted to find out, because there was so many stories of like donor babies, but there wasn't so much about donor adults. And I remember looking into it, and at first it was almost horrific, because the children who were born through donor as adults were in this space of just feeling lost and wanting to know their roots and feeling that they had been cheated out of it. But then I slowly started to realize that in our parents' generation, when they went through infertility and had to use donor sperm or had to use donor egg, not every couple is forthcoming for different reasons. From the parental perspective, it could be the stigma, not wanting to share. So there was this culture, I think, in the generation before ours of hiding it with the right intentions. But then what I discovered on the flip end with the new age, with Ancestry.com, and the ability for these donor adults now to look back and discover their roots, was this sense of being cheated. And it almost took away from the original intention, which was for the parents to be so excited at the chance of life and the chance of parenthood. And it just didn't make any sense to me why this was the case. And moving forward as a new generation of women and men and who are going through infertility and may have to use donor egg or donor sperm, I think it is responsible to be able to give the children the gift of who they are and their ancestry. And I remember just in my research, I found like there was this couple that had a book that talked about how the child was conceived. I think the LGBTQIA community has made a record stance in raising donor children in a healthy way by letting them know how they came to be. And I thought that was really exciting, to be able to live in truth. And I think if your intention, Oprah talks about intention, right? What is your intention? If your intention is really pure, which it is for all of us wanting to have these babies, if the intention is pure, then the child will grow up in it and see it and love you. And I'll never forget it, guys. There was this video I saw on YouTube of a donor-conceived male. His father, had infertility, and so he had donor sperm. He talked about how he always saw his parents that raised him as his parents, despite finding out about the truth about his, how he was conceived. And it was just that commitment to his parents that touched my heart, because then I was able to see that in the future, if I do things correctly, that could be my child. And then I reached out to a donor-conceived adult, and I think I was broken on the verge of tears at this point. I'd gone through, I think, 9 cycles of IVF, and I was so nervous because I knew that there was chances it wouldn't work, and I needed to prepare. And then I remember this donor-conceived adult, I said, was it wrong for us to even go through it? Because they were kind of grasping with their reality. And the donor-conceived adult responded to my comment on YouTube and said, no, it's not wrong to go through infertility, but if you are to do it correctly and let the child know their roots and how they came to be. And it was almost as if this donor-conceived adult had given me permission. And it was such a full circle moment. And I hope that that touches you if you are in the stage where you have to have a baby through donor.